before we go on to the next speaker, I should just tell you that after the last session this afternoon, everyone back in here in the Dome, we've got a whole load of goodies and prizes to give away, all donated by sponsors, negotiated on your behalf. And all of your names, everyone that's paid for a ticket, is in our little raffle bag that we're going to be pulling out. You have to be here to win. If you're not here, hard luck, we'll go on to someone else. So please, after the last session, get yourself in here for our wrap-up closing ceremony, and you'll stand a good chance of winning some really lovely bundles. Okay, so I'm really pleased about our next session. For the last few years, I've been lucky enough to speak at some of the flash forwards in the States, and my level of expertise was pretty low. I was doing stuff about, you know, how to build your first game, so real entry-level stuff. But the one thing that I always used to talk about was how to get introduced to trigonometry. And actually, before I started doing that session, I knew very, very little about that. But the thing that helped me learn was our next speaker's book, which is absolutely second to none with game development. His company, Electrotank, creates probably the most popular Flash web games around, and of course, multi-user games. I was absolutely stoked when I just emailed Jobe and said, listen, would you please come and talk? And he said, sure, let's do it. So will you please put your hands together? A fantastic speaker, Jobe Makar.
Thanks, John. I won't be talking about Trig today. As John said, my name is Jobe Makar, and I wanted to throw up the link to the presentation notes down here, and at that link you could find this SWIFT that I'll be using for the presentation slides, and you'll also be able to find the source files to a game I created specifically for today's session. And I'll throw this link up again later. Or you have your own projects that you're working on, and you just want to, you know, ask me for some input or soundboard, you know, just to see if I think it's feasible or give you any advice. Feel free to catch me after the session. You know, there's a lunch break. I have plenty of time. I can stick around either in here or out there, or, you know, go to lunch with somebody, you know, and talk about this stuff. I could talk about it all day long. So if anybody's interested, just come find me. And so I want to show this one. Jess from MDM is back there somewhere. He's helping me test some of these games. Are you able to connect, Jess? Maybe not. Is anybody in here on the internet? Nobody? Okay. This is me and my wife, Kelly. Can we get some sound on this? No. Thank you. Okay, so how this game works is you can use the arrow keys to move the board around, just to get a better view. Move your mouse around the character to aim, and toward or away from the ball to adjust the power. And in the other client, we were watching, you could have seen that. Another hold. So this is just a two-player, turn-based, multiplayer game. think I'd be better at it. Okay, then I moved so high. Okay, so it goes on and on for 18 holes. So this is just this is an early Flash 5 turn-based multiplayer game. And of course, by turn-based, it just means that one person gets a turn. During that turn, nobody else can do anything except maybe chat or do something non-important. And then after that turn, it moves on to the next person. So most card games, board games, billiards, checkers, chess, all that sort of thing would be considered a turn-based game. The next thing I want to show is this real-time multiplayer game that I created for Hot Wheels about half a year ago. Now, I've been running this continual ping, and the network latency is all over the place right now. In fact, you're seeing that there's a lot of dropped packets. So, and this is typical at conferences or hotels or places where you have like a lot of influx of people all getting on the internet and then leaving. But what this means for me is that when I go to show a real-time multiplayer game, for most people usually, if you're at home or at the office, if you have a bad ping or a good ping, it's usually pretty consistent. And with multiplayer games, if you code it properly, things tend to work pretty well as long as you can predict a continual ping. So if you have a bad ping, you can have your code adapt to that, and as long as it's predictable, it's usually pretty good. But when it's all over the board like this, and when you get drop packets, things get a little glitchier because you use predictive motion, and then like the time it takes for a message to get from the server back to the client keeps varying, so it's hard to predict when things are going to happen, and you end up getting like glitchy motion. So I'm going to show this game locally, and then after that I'm going to try to show it online and see how it's different. Starting up Electro server. Of course, this is an early version of it. Of course, one of the problems also with showing these multiplayer games locally is kind of tough to get multiple people in there. Let's choose a card. I'll bring another guy in there. I'm going to run a little slower. 2 clients. So it looks like Flash is having trouble updating both clients quite as quickly, but this is a real-time multiplayer game where if we're playing this on the internet, you can see somebody passing you or skidding around. So I'll show this on the internet in just a minute. So if I show you this actually on that website, the game will be playable, but it'll look a little glitchy. So immediately there's 4 people in here. I'm the guy on the bottom. Well, you see. So it's playable, but it gets a little glitchy showing, rendering my opponents. Mattel took out the skidding sounds and skidding skid marks for performance videos. Okay, so this is just an example of a real-time multiplayer game where everybody can go at the same time. There's no turns. It supports, well, this game in particular supports 4 players, but really there's not really any limit. It's just how much the flash can handle at a time. Okay. Oh, Barbie. And a third example I would like to show here is multiplayer Barbie. It's just an artificial intelligence, very simple AI Barbie chat. But I just wanted to illustrate that there's, you can do turn-based games, real-time games, or other.
Let's chat.
And this is an example of other.
I can't wait to chat with you.
Me too.
I can't wait to chat with you.
Friends forever. Okay, so there's 54 little girls in here chatting right now. And this is a safe chat. You can't just freeform, come in here and type whatever you want. You just kind of watch what's going on. Some of these are real people chatting, and some are like just little Barbie. I don't know anything about the Barbie world, but I guess Tia and Barbie, and there's some other characters and their little server AI bots, and they just listen to what you say and respond, and sort of have like a fake conversation here. So, I'm all about school activities. So I just submitted that, and Barbie, maybe, way to shout it out, Friends Forever. Yeah, she's talking to me. So those are just 3 examples of 3 widely different types of things you could do that's multi-user. I wouldn't really consider the Barbie thing a game, it's just interactive entertainment. Okay. In the client-server model, which is what I use and what most people use, there will be an unlimited number of users or clients throughout the world or throughout a network, and they all connect back to a remote server. They establish a permanent connection, generally, and we use XML socket class to do that. Open up a socket and just open it up and keep it open. It's just like this pipe that sits there, and you can send data back and forth. Alternatively, and I just wanted to talk about this because I get a lot of questions about it, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about it. Peer-to-peer, first let me say it's not possible in Flash. If you have found a way to do it, servers have the concept of rooms. It's just a very convenient way to group users together. So a simple metaphor is just like having a lobby chat room, or having 5 lobby chat rooms. Lobby 1 through lobby 5, and there's 10 users in each. And the users in each of those rooms, they only see the people in their own room. They don't even really know that the other rooms exist unless they query the server for it. So that's the generic room concept. Now, a game room, notice the only thing that changed is the title. A game room is pretty much the same thing. You are in a room and you want to send a chat message to the room, and when you send it to the room, it just goes to the room and then filters down and is sent to everybody in that room. That's usually called a public message. And if you want to send a private message, it's sent from one user directly to another user. The server, in the previous example, the server doesn't even really do anything. It just allows the client to create a message, send it to the server, and then it goes on to the room or to a specific user. The more powerful way is you send a message to the server. The server has some custom logic and then sends the message back to the room. My server running on electro-server.com. As you see here, I'm continually pinging it. So what I'm doing is sending a small piece of data to the server, measuring what time it is now. The server responds, and then I measure the time then, and I see what that total round trip time was. Latency is half of that. And latency is an important concept because it's important to know when a server, because you're not always getting a response. Sometimes the server just tells you something. You didn't even ask for it. So it's important to know what time was it when the server sent me this message. So if you know what your latency is, if you can predict that, the server sends you a message, you can update stuff on the screen to where it should be. So a typical good ping is between, say, 60 and 80 milliseconds. For that, I wanted to discuss some server options here. So there are some commercial products, and then there's some free products. And this isn't the full list, this is just most of the popular ones. So, of the commercial ones, there's Unity. This was created by Mook, Colin Mook, and you can find it at mook.org. Flash Media Server, or whatever it's called these days, you can find it at Jobe.com. It's a nice, powerful server. Electro server, that's what we're using today. And then there is Red 5, which I don't know much about Red 5, except that it's an open source project. And whenever it's done, it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to support pretty much everything that Flash Media Server does. And it's going to be free. And I think it's already available, but it's not like, it might not be trustworthy. I don't know if it's been stress tested or anything like that. But you can find that, I think, at osflash.org. And then there's Oregano server, which this has been around forever. It is free. I've heard that it will only support maybe around 500 users, but I can't swear to that. But it's a free server, and I don't know the URL of that one, but you could probably just Google Oregano server and find that. So these are your choices. All the concepts that I talked about previously, and that I'll talk about in a while, apply to all these servers. Which is on connection. Okay, so first let me show you what the finished thing will look like. You can just log in and send messages. So it's very simple. I'm just going to remove the code here. Leave the loader on there. Okay, so I am in a new FLA file. In this directory, there's 3 classes. And these 2 classes here are used by Electro server class, so you only need to interact with this class. And there's 3 frame labels: loader, login, and chat. Loader just loads the movie, and when it's loaded, moves on to login. You log in, goes on to the chat frame. So this is just your standard loader. Okay, so first thing we want to do when we get to the login frame, and this frame has a login _ BTN button, username _txt text field, and MSG _txt, just a message field to display any errors that might occur. So I'm going to create a new Electro server instance. Singleton, so we just use get instance, and then es.connect on some IP and some port. I'm running it locally. Your local IP is 127.0.0.1, and the port is 9875.
Halo? No ten na dole wyciąg, tak? No to tam jeszcze dojadę, spoko. Hello! Gdzie jesteśmy?
Zajebiście. Mogły te chmury być jeszcze wyżej.
Val Thorens?
2007. Val Thorens z lotu wyciągu.
Oui, il est sèche par rapport à ici. C'est bizarre, le copain qui est ici, c'est la même parcelle. Je sais pas comment il a habillé non plus. Il a pas fait froid là. Mais dis à la vitesse du décolle de l'appartement, ça va nous faire. Ça nous décolle pas par là. Ça marche.